Pues muy buenos días a todos. Estamos en esta segunda sesión, en la segunda semana de Encuentro Creativo. Muchísimas gracias por seguirnos y los que se acaban de conectar, que son nuevos, muchísimas gracias. Antes de presentar la ponencia y a nuestro ponente del día de hoy, por favor, les ofrezco un saludo por parte de la Embajada de Italia y de la Cámara Italiana.
Soy Luigi De Chiara, embajador de Italia en México. Soy muy feliz de presentar Encuentro Creativo, una producción de la Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México con la Embajada de Italia. En México hay un potencial de talento creativo que me parece no logra salir de sus fronteras con la presentación de la oferta formativa de esas instituciones académicas en el campo de las industrias creativas italianas. Queremos ofrecer no solo la posibilidad de mejorarse de un punto de vista técnico, sino también de saber dónde van las tendencias, cómo se ha construido el éxito del Made in Italy, sobre todo en el sector del estilo de vida.
Es un evento muy importante, Encuentro Creativo, porque da la oportunidad a los estudiantes mexicanos egresados de universidades o de institutos académicos de conocer la oferta educativa que hay para cursos de posgrado en el campo del diseño, de la moda y de las artes gráficas.
Así que durante estas 2 semanas de Encuentro Creativo van a poder encontrar tips y conocer acerca de las mejores universidades y institutos italianos. Van a poder conocer a embajadores, a ponentes que están trabajando en la industria, que son también académicos de estas universidades. La finalidad es que disfruten de Italia, que conozcan Italia a través de estos webinars y seminarios y que se aventuren a vivir en Italia y vivir una experiencia llena de conocimiento, de sabiduría y de diseño y de moda. Espero que lo disfruten y muchísimas gracias. Pues muchas gracias y bienvenidos. El día de hoy en esta ponencia vamos a estar tratando, el título es Products like Activators of Emotions. Y este seminario es impartido por Simone Bonanni, a quien le doy la bienvenida y muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Él es colaborador del Instituto Europeo de Diseño, IED, que se encuentra en la ciudad de Milán, también está en Florencia, están en Madrid, y quienes son parte de este encuentro creativo, una de las universidades que forma parte. Quisiera, antes de cederle la palabra a Simone, leer una pequeña biografía de quién es él. Bueno, como bien saben, la Universidad IED es una escuela internacional de diseño, moda, artes visuales y comunicación. Así que para todos aquellos interesados en estas disciplinas, es una de las mejores opciones, es un instituto reconocido a nivel mundial. Simone Bonanni nació en Pordenone, Italia, en agosto de 1989. En 2011 se graduó en este Instituto Europeo de Diseño IED, en la sede de Milán, con un proyecto premiado con mención honorífica en uno de los premios más reconocidos, que es el premio ADI con Paso d'Oro, que si no lo conocen, por ahí si lo buscan, fue creado en 1954, es uno de los más antiguos, pero sobre todo uno de los más imponentes a nivel mundial del diseño, donde pues los mejores diseñadores son premiados y a nivel mundial es bastante reconocido y bastante imponente. En 2012 dejó Milán y se unió al equipo de Marcel Wanders en Ámsterdam, donde trabajó como diseñador de producto y líder de proyectos durante casi 3 años. De regreso a Italia, en 2015 fundó Simone Bonanni Studio en Milán. Actualmente este profesor y colaborador está trabajando en proyectos para marcas internacionales seleccionadas como pues algunas marcas que incluso están aquí presentes en México, como es Alessi, Moi, MDF Italia, que por cierto se encuentra en Casa Palacio, Fiam, Falper, Mingardo y muchas otras marcas más, centrándose tanto en el diseño de productos como en las ediciones limitadas. Su trabajo ha aparecido en publicaciones de renombre como en la revista Seid Magazine, Design, Abitare, El Decoration, El Decor, Il Sole 24 Ore, Maria Claire Messon, Interni, Domus, entre otras más. Entonces, yo, pues leyendo esta biografía, es una persona muy experimentada, que no solamente es profesor de este instituto tan renombrado, sino también ha estado trabajando en la industria. Y es por eso que lo estamos invitando a ser parte de Encuentro Creativo. Por favor, cedo la palabra a Simone y pido que si tienen dudas, por favor, preguntas para hacerlo un poco más interactivo, lo escriban en el chat. Al último, como siempre, tenemos nuestra sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Por ahí también al final vamos a tener un videíto de un embajador mexicano que estudió en este instituto y pues que nos va a contar cuál fue su experiencia de vivir no solamente en Italia, pero sino ser parte de esta universidad. Entonces, adelante, Simone, te dejo, te cedo la palabra.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm going to switch to English. I hope it's okay for all of you. And thank you for the beautiful introduction. I actually don't speak any Spanish, but I guess everything was perfect and everything was right. And it sounded very nice, actually. So thank you for it. Nice to meet you all. Hopefully one day we'll be meeting in person, hopefully very soon. And thank you for involving me in this. So today I would like to talk to you a little bit about what I'm up to lately and what was a little bit my path so far. So telling you a little bit about my experience within IED and how everything started more or less. And of course, if you have questions, you are free to ask. I've been told that you prefer to use the chat, so like whenever you have a question, just raise up your hand and write something on the chat. Okay. Well, I'm going to share the screen first of all, so I have a little presentation for you that might support my speech. So let's go for this. Let's see. Okay. So the title of this presentation of today is a product like activators of emotions. And of course, it does sound like everything and nothing at the same time. And I'm here to explain you like why I ended up with this title. And it's just like about how everything started for me with within the design field and what I think I understood so far. And I wanted to share with you this point of view and my considerations about design so far. So starting from scratch, I am from Pordenone. I was born in 1989, and Pordenone is this red little dot in the north of Italy. So why I decided to go to IED and to approach this school? Of course, like everybody has his own story. Everybody has his own background, and my background actually is that I was not really paying attention when I was at school, in my high school, and most of the times I was like filling the blank corners of my books with the stupid figures, stupid sketches and drawings. But then these drawings turned out to be very, very nice, and to me was very satisfying doing those. So I thought at a certain point, like I might want to become an artist, right? You know, when you have like, let's see first. Okay. You know, when you have this thing about this moment after high school when you're supposed to decide where to go and what to do. And then I thought I wanted to become a painter or something like that, just based on those sketches, right? And so first thing I did is like I looked into like several like schools which could support my passion. But then all of a sudden I had this moment where I found out that painting was maybe like a little bit naive and a little bit, well, maybe not necessarily like the right thing to do. So I decided to do something a little bit more pragmatic and close to people, such as, for instance, architecture and design. And this story is actually funny because design was not the first choice for me. And at the beginning, I wanted to try, I tried to approach architecture, but for some reason, it didn't go well because I had these, these exams where you get admitted to the school and to the universities, and I didn't really pass them. I was a little bit frustrated about that. And then, so design in a way, it's funny how like our life goes sometimes because design was a second choice for me. And also, when I heard about IED being great school, that was just like in a way a second choice. And it's great how like sometimes in life you realize that this kind of choices becomes the most important choices of your life, right? So this is it for me now. Like it was looking like so far it was one of the best decisions of my life, and I'll tell you why. So in 2009, I moved to Milan because I wanted to try IED, and I thought like that was the right choice at that moment. And I was really passionate about what they actually promised me they were going to teach me. So I approached the school, and I'll check all the questions a little bit later. Otherwise, I don't know how this screen works, to be honest. I'm very bad with it, so I'll just leave it for later. Anyway, 2009, 2010, 2011, these 3 years. So I attended product design course. And of course, during these 3 years, of course, I started from scratch. Okay, I was also coming from a very small town. So to me, like moving to Milan and attending this school was just like a double bingo in terms of, you know, I mean, it was just a great new adventure just beginning, right? So Milan was big compared to my hometown, and also like I started to get the first to go to the first real concerts and real events, and you meet a lot of people. You're gonna take the tram to go to the university in the mornings, all these kind of little things, which made the whole experience super great. And also talking about the school, it was great because it's impressive the learning curve, the progress that you actually managed to do during these 3 years, because you basically start from like without knowing anything about design. And so you arrive as a white canvas, and you start to collect so many different experiences, so many different aspects of the design field, such as, for instance, here I collected some sketches. Like you just end up like, you know, like doing modeling and like doing little prototypes, big prototypes, just to prove that your design, your ideas are the right ones. You end up like, you know, learning how to draw, how to sketch, and these are some actually like coffee. Like I learned how to like to stay awake at night and work, because one of the first things that I learned is that you really don't know how much you can push yourself until someone actually pushes you more, you know, in the sense that you like, I learned that, I mean, I used to work like, I don't know, a few hours per day, and I was super tired after that. And but with this experience, I learned how to work more and to also, so the coffee thing is just like a little symbol of like me just staying awake at night. I work my ass off like every day, following my dreams. And then another little, well, this is the torch. The torch was fine because it was funny because it was one of the first projects that I had to do in IED. I think it was product design 1 or something like that. It was the first project. And so we were called to design a torch. I think it was for camping or for something. So to me, like whenever I see a torch right now, it reminds me of those great times. Oh yeah, by the way, I learned how to speak in English there during these 3 years. Before, it was very bad for me. I had very bad experience with English. Now it's a little bit better. And then what else? Like, oh yeah, like I now I like measure everything, you know. So I always have a ruler next to me, or like, you know, a little scale. Like, you know, it becomes like a little bit of a, you know, of an obsession. And then, but what I wanted to talk to you about within the experience I had in IED is this little icon here, which represents a motorcycle helmet, which is actually the first, the last project which I developed within IED, and it was one of the most important projects of my life, because it really makes you understand how you really love the profession and how you want to do it for the rest of your life. Most important thing of this project, before going into details, I'm not going to get too technical now, because I guess we have a very well, I don't want to bore you, so I'll just keep it light. But I just wanted to tell you that these kind of projects, the thesis project, most of the times are the ones that make you understand a lot about your future life, and also they create also great you work in a team, right? So like, you know, you tend to spend most of the times with your team, with your group mates, and so you design a lot and you create also very strong relationships with people, and which is one of the most important things I think today for a designer, is to work in a team, because like challenges now are way too complicated to be able to be faced by one single individual. So always work in a team. Let me now check this, whether we have some questions now. No, I think I can just go ahead with that. Okay, cool. You guys can stop me if you don't understand anything, if you have questions, okay? Just give me a sign that if everything is going right, because I have no idea since nobody's giving me feedback. So I just go on with that. So I'll, as I said, I won't be too technical, but these are the first sketches of our thesis project. We were called to design a motorcycle helmet for this company, this Italian company called GV, and the topic was like to simply like, you know, design a very innovative motorcycle helmet, and me with my group, we came up with this idea, which was about using like memory shape alloy. Oh, wait. So basically, like it was about to use like a sort of a metal spring, which could, in a way, expand when the temperature was going higher. So basically, it's a very special type of metal. It's called memory shape. So according to the temperature, you can expand or contract. And in this case, we thought that we could create our own spring. So we went all the way to Como, which is a little city outside Milan. And we developed our own spring, and it was actually extremely interesting, because we managed to actually teach the spring at which temperature they should expand and at which temperature should contract. So it was very interesting, and this was actually like the soul of our air intakes. Okay, so the whole helmet was about this simple spring, and with this simple spring you can open or close the air intakes. And these were a little bit of some sketches of the shape, because we were called also to design hands. So it's not only about the idea you have. Just give me a second. Okay. So it's not only about the idea you have, the technical idea you have, but sometimes also like about the shape and the aesthetic meaning you want to give to that. Give me a second. Okay, sorry. Few sketches, and then of course this is the end result. As you can see, like, you know, this whole mechanism here was very well hidden under the shell, which became very aesthetical. And of course, like again, once you find the technical solution to it, the technical innovation to it, you also never have to forget that you should give to it the right shape, and it should talk the right language. People should understand what's going on with it, and the aesthetic should be somehow very recognizable and telling a little bit of the technology inside. So we thought of, like, you know, giving the helmet a very, like, you know, natural feeling. Why? Because we were just talking about the reality is that this is just the first, like, you know, breathing helmet ever, right? So it's an alive object in a way. It can breathe according to the temperature, so it adapts and it evolves within, like, the temperature changes. So it's very much of a natural element, natural object. So we thought that giving it a natural aesthetic was also like the right thing to do. And this is why, like, we try to avoid, let's say, a very technical aspect, very artificial aspect. Here we see how, like, you know, we are talking about very smooth lines which recalls, like, the idea of a leaf in a way, or something like that, or like waves that recall the movement of the wind and stuff like that. And this is just like the prototype. As I was talking to you before, like, you know, we also learn how to develop prototypes, and this is a little 3D printed trials that we did. As you can see here, we have the Nitino, this spring. So the spring made out of this very special metal, which is going to expand and let the air go in. And when it's actually like cold, the spring contracts and it closes the air intakes. So it's a little bit of a living organism. At a certain point, like in 2011, IED finished, and it was great because we actually this is a moment where you understand what you want to do in life, because you know you have to know that the school is a very special school because I think it's quite challenging in a way. So you end up being in the last year with your classmates, and you kind of know that there is a sense of community going on. There is a sense of like, you know, you start to believe in the same things, and you start to develop the same dreams in a way, because the 3 years are not easy, you know, like you have to work a lot, and you have to somehow like really believe in what you're going to do in your life. And when you reach the 3rd year, somehow you have this sense of like, you know, you know that you're there for a reason, and also this makes also the relationship that you build in that period very strong. And like, for instance, for me, like are the best relationship that I actually took further with me for the rest of, for the rest of the experience, and then I think it's going to be for the rest of my life. So I think the 3rd year was very cool. And but then of course, like, you know, even these kind of love stories finish sometimes, and you end up like, you know, out there, you finish the university where everything is challenging, but at the same time is very well protected. You are followed by a lot of great teachers, and you know, you have the modeling lab here, you have the computer lab there, you are followed, you know, by many different professionals, and all of a sudden, like, you're out there and you have to somehow look for something, right? Of course, the school helps like students after the 3rd year to find somehow like a way to approach the world of the professional world in a way, right? So with different like internships and stuff like that. I did my own as well. I was very happy with it. It was about 6 months, I think. And then at a certain point, always you see like how, you know, things are cool, because like, you know, there is always yet somehow like here and there, like there's always like, you know, the school support, like when you less expect it, like there is spam, like, you know, it happens. And so the story is that basically like in 2012, through a person which is actually working within the school, I got to know from Facebook that a great studio in Amsterdam was looking for a designer, and that was 2012. So it was 1 year after I finished my IED experience. And the cool thing is that these guys were looking for a 5 years experienced designer, like that could actually like that already worked in a big studio, and that was able to use certain softwares that I was not yet able to use. Of course, I was young, you know, you are in a phase where you have to learn everything, you know, you just finished school and you have to somehow approach the professional environment. Then I was like, yeah, you know, sometimes you just need to try, and worst case scenario, they say no, you know, and you know, this is what happened to me as well. And so I approached this studio and asking, like, I just sent my CV, my portfolio. They really liked it. So in this way, also like my previous experience with IED was very useful. They liked it. At the same time, I didn't have those skills that they were expecting me to have. So whatever, I just like, you know, send the portfolio, and they liked it, and they invited me for a Skype interview. that went well as well, and then they invited me in Amsterdam. And then I remember it was actually very cool because I went there for the interview. It was just by myself, like, you know, of course, very, very nervous because I didn't know what to expect, what the size of the studio was, and nothing, right? So I went to the studio, and it ended up to be like a very huge studio. About 60 people were working there at that time. And there was also a birthday party that day. So after my interview, we all got drunk together. So we became friends together in a way. And the interview went well. And then I suddenly started to work there. I got hired, and it was like a great 3 years of my life there as well. I'll tell you a little bit about the studio because I don't know if you guys have heard about Marcel Wanders, but it's a very big studio in the Netherlands. It's working. It's about like 60 people studio working both on interior design and product design, not to mention all the personal edition and art pieces. Here you just have a couple of images where like you see some hotels. This is the Andas Hotel in Amsterdam. And these are some of the products that the studio develops, right? You might have seen this Sky Garden from Floss. And actually, it's good to mention that Marcel became somehow, let's say, that is the starting spike that made him like very well known internationally was this chair here. It's called the knotted chair, and which was done in 1996. And after that, he started to work for several companies like Capellini, Floss, and many more. And these were 3 years where I developed a lot of different projects, you see. And it was cool because basically I was just the youngest one of the 60 people. I have to say that because, well, the youngest one, and for sure the one with less professional experiences collected, right? Because I was coming out from school. But it was great because I could prove that I could be part of that studio in a way, and also I was very enthusiastic, you know. And I think this is like one of the most precious things that you can have, like, you know, when you approach the professional world, like being enthusiastic and positive all the times brings you a little bit more far if you compare to people which are just technically very, very good, you know, I think. Anyway, regardless, that these are some of the projects that I developed there in these 3 years. And so you can see like bunch of different things, like from coffee tables to spectacles to like wooden trays for Alessi and some chairs for Magis, and even face powders. I suddenly became an expert in face powders. I was not expecting to become an expert in this kind of makeup things, to be honest, never in my life. And then that happened, you know, and so I started to design those face powders. Oh, let me show you also, like, I ended up, like, for instance, you know, talking about the fact that I wanted to become a painter when I was in the high school. Then it's actually funny because I went back to paint and to draw. And basically when I was here in the Netherlands, they asked me to design the booklet for this face powder, you know, because it was all about like telling a story and telling like a little fairy tale in the brochure, in the booklet of this face powder. So there was a lot of storytelling, and then they asked me to design the illustration. So I came up with this, and the whole story. Well, I don't read Japanese, of course, but we came up with the story where like there was like a secret nymph, and so it was like different collections of face powders based on different kind of nymphs, you know, you can find in the literature and books and stuff like that. So it was very interesting. And after these 3 years, basically, so I started as the youngest one, and so also thanks to what they knew from before, and also like to how, you know, how you learn how to work with people. Of course, like you end up there, and you have to be able to create synergies with the other 50, 60 people, like in general. So these were all things that the school taught me in a way. Regardless the technical aspects, which I think I have to be very honest with you, like the more I grow and the more I believe that the technical things are important, but are not everything. So a little advice that I can give is that to focus on why you do things, you know, before actually just being satisfied with the technical aspects. So like how you do things, or, you know, or what you do, you know. so I think the philosophy is very important somehow, you know, and it can just make you be, it can make you like a different designer compared to others in a way. So long story short, in 2015, also this experience in Amsterdam finished. So it was great because like I like in 3 years, like I went from being a junior designer to a project leader. So it meant to also like work with clients and take decisions within such a big studio. So it was very satisfactory. It was very satisfying, and I was very happy about that. But you know, I was stuck in a sort of situations where like I had some ideas that I wanted to develop, and I had many ideas, you know, both for the studio and both for just like outside the studio in a way, you know, things that maybe were not fitting the studio style, the studio philosophy, the studio you know, approach. So I was working at 8 hours, and I was working in the studio about 8 to 10 hours per day. So I was, you know, a little bit stressed. So I decided, okay, it might be the right moment to try things on my own, to, you know, to grow in different ways and to experiment different things. And it was actually like one of the most beautiful moments, because when I expressed this desire to my colleagues and my boss in the studio, they were actually very, I mean, they understood my point of view, and they were somehow supporting me in this choice. Of course, they were really sad, but you know, things turned out to be, I mean, we're very good friends now, and yeah, yeah, of course, like some of the people complain, and some of other people actually were happy about me trying my own thing. So in 2015, I decided to move away. Where did I go? I went back to Milan. Why? Because somehow I thought it was one of the best places to start again from. In a way, because I had all my friends there, and I knew the city very well. And as I told you before, I came from a very small, tiny city. So for me, like the first move to Milan was like, you know, one of the most important and crucial moments of my life. So for me, Milan was always in my heart. So I decided to go back there and to start again from there. And as soon as I came back to Milan, I started with to imagine what I could have become, like, you know, within the city. And you know, I started to teach at IED again. They involved me again. They were very happy about me being back in Milan. They asked me like to be in the school again, and now I'm teaching there since 6 years or something like that. And then I, like in 2015, I decided to start my own studio. And of course, it's challenging nowadays, you know, to take such a decision. But you know, when you have dreams, like, you know, the best thing you can do is just to follow them. So I thought, you know, why either now or never. So I decided to create this, and this is a moment where like we changed a little bit the topic, and I wanted to share. I want to share with you, like, you know, some of my point of views and my considerations within the design field, and show you also like some of my latest projects that I've been designing after the IED experience and the Master One experience in the Netherlands. Let me just see whether we have some questions here. Gracias. No. Okay. Hola. Yeah. Okay. If you, Grazie, thank you for sharing how you have. Okay. If you have questions, please can you write it in English? Otherwise, I won't be able to understand. Okay. I mean, I think okay. I'm just going to back to the presentation, and then we can leave all the questions to later on, if you agree. So a little like index here. So now it's also we have dogs here as well. Give me a sec, sorry. Yeah? Okay, sorry. So a little index here. So we have the first part is about what I've learned like lately, like about objects, you know, in general, and what is my personal point of view on design. And of course, this is also like a forever work in progress. I'm not saying I discovered anything, of course. I'm just very willing to share this with you guys and see what you guys think. And you know, it's a bit of a learning curve, and this is like, you know, what it is so far. Then a little bit about my design approach and what I think about the shape of objects, and all this will be explained through images of different projects that have been developing in the last in the last 5 years. It's been a while already. So first thing, you know, after, I mean, you know, IED gives you very solid foundations, like, you know, where you know, that kind of like are tools that you can use to investigate the world of design in a way, right? I say foundation because it's about learning every day, you know. This is a very particular job, so you never stop learning. So that would be also not realistic to say that IED teaches you everything, right? Because it's all about learning, you know. But it gives you, if anything, gives you very solid foundations, you know. So for me, it was IED at the beginning, and then I went up to Amsterdam and I learned different things, different aspects, and different point of views in the design field. And now somehow, like, I believe that what I think so far is somehow like a little mix of different inputs that I've been receiving in the last 10 years. So I want to look at it like that. So, you know, and we see where we will see where all this will take. Why products activators of emotions? Because I believe that objects around us, before being like technical and performing machines, they somehow can communicate a lot about themselves and about the owner as well, through their shape, color, through their temperature of the surface, through the finish, through the texture, through the volume, you know. So I think that in a way, there is a way that you can design objects, not starting from the shape, but starting from what you want to communicate with those shapes, what kind of emotions you want to raise with this particular shape. What does a circle communicate? What does a square communicate? What does a line communicate? What does a sphere communicate? You know, so you start to design the emotions rather than design the object itself. So basically, like, you know, the volume starts to become very crucial, and the silhouette especially starts to become very crucial, because it can be a very welcoming silhouette, a very rejecting silhouette. It can be something that makes you feel home, something that makes you feel somewhere else. It makes you feel awkward, it makes you feel, you know. So I think, like, you know, talking about emotions is like, to me, it becomes very important now, where basically, you know, like, there are a lot of designers, like, you know, every year new designers, and it becomes like, I mean, the question is always like, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and what can I, you know, what can my approach be to be able to be relevant nowadays? And I think this should one of the main thoughts, like, for every designer, you know, rather than just focusing on creating beautiful furniture or objects in general. So these are some of the projects that I've designed in the last couple of years. These are some, just like a little pictures, a little illustrations that somehow to me represents the following project that I will show you now, which are these coffee tables, which are made in terracotta, and they're designed for Moi in 2018, about 3 years ago. And the idea was, I mean, why this picture? Let me go back to this picture. Why this picture? Because somehow these are just like, you know, very genuine and natural shape. That shape is not because of their fault or because someone really decided the shape, but it's because, like, of the water energy of the, you know, of the current. So this shape is somehow, it happened, was not very, nobody designed it, you know. So when I designed these tables, I wanted to keep the shape very regular in a way, at the same time smooth, as if like a river shaped them. So talking about emotions and talking about feelings, like to me, this was going to represent a little touch of genuineness in the living room, and it was supposed to, and it is like a project that is not going to disturb anyone, and it appears very, very human because it is not perfect, but it wants to be, you know, and somehow it relates to the nature. Also because of the finish and many different aspects related to the furniture, to the finish and the color of the surface of these objects. Of course, also ceramic is a material that you work with, and this is like, in this case, yeah, ceramic, glazed ceramic, and ceramic is a material that you work with, which is very cool. You can almost do everything you want. At the same time, like, it has a very particular level of precision, which doesn't go down to other techniques, which could be injection molding, stuff like that. But it has a little percentage of imperfection, which I believe being the beauty of it. And it also, like, you know, shows in a way the work of the artisan, which is also like one of the most important elements in my designs. This is another project. Let me see here. Okay. I would like to know how the design of products differ between the Netherlands and where did you develop more your technical and emotional skills? Okay. I can reply to this as well. Or, okay, so can I ask you guys, like, if I should just keep these for the background, with noisy background? Okay, you're right. Okay, you're right. Okay, well, I would like to know. So, what should how should we organize this? Should we just read them at the very end, or?
Hi, Simone. Arturo here from the Encuentro Creativo team.
Ciao, Arturo.
So we always left the questions at the end of the.
Okay, cool.
So maybe when you finish, we can ask the questions and see if people have even more questions to ask.
Great. Thank you, Arturo. Thank you. So I'll just go on with that. It's going to be like almost done, and then we can focus on the questions. I think it's
yeah, perfectly.
Great. Talking about emotions again here, you see, like, you know, just a chair, right? But then when you start from thinking about emotions, and so you don't just focus on the design of the chair, on the ergonomics, but you want to somehow imagine and envision what kind of emotions you want to communicate through the object. Then you start to, you know, to play with shapes. And in this case, for instance, to me, it was very interesting to give the chair a little bit of a big butt in a way, as you can see here, very round, because to me it was like a symbol of I mean, it was helping me to create a very welcoming piece, something very soft. And also these wrinkles here, in a way, they're there because somehow it relates to the human body, right? And these are like these to me make the product very human and not perfect, and very random in a way, because you cannot really control these wrinkles. It becomes a sort of like the skin of the chair in a way. And so I think, like, with a couple of considerations, like you can create very much of a welcoming piece, just like thinking about how would I feel, you know, if I look at this chair. What could this chair communicate to me, and what does it say? What kind of tone of voice does he have, you know? So this was one of the first things that I thought. And also, for instance, this is another dining table I've designed for this company called Fiam, which mainly works with glass sheets. These are fused glass panels that you can actually, let's say, glue together, screw together. You can create different kind of compositions, and I decided to have to create this game of transparencies and colors, where technically you get a third color all the time, basically. Like you walk around the table and you always get this kind of overlapping of colors and of glass panels. So in a way it becomes very to me was like in a way the temple of clear and colorful and transparent conversations, right? So like and this was somehow like a little way to communicate what to me a dining table could be in the living room, right? And these this is another example. This is actually like a tab, a kitchen tab, and here the idea was I designed this for Leslie, and this is just a prototype. It doesn't really function. It's a sorry, 1 second. Okay, sorry. I think I fixed the situation a little bit. So again, this is like a conceptual project. You know, it's a project developed until like we actually didn't develop the technicalities of it, and the whole idea was about designing a kitchen faucet for the future. So why this shape? Again, all the shapes that I design, like usually they come from a different kind of thought. And in this case, the idea was that you don't really, I mean, in the future, all the houses will become most likely much smaller, and because of like, you know, population will grow. So we're gonna be like 1.5 billion people, like, you know, very soon, 1.5 billion more very soon, in about 50 years. They say, of course, like we will never be able to say exactly, to be very precise about this, but anyway, houses, especially in the cities, will become a little bit smaller. So there is a tendency, which is happening right now already, which is about fusing the kitchen with the living room. And in this case, I thought, well, why not designing a new faucet for the living room and not for the kitchen, right? So I thought, okay, what kind of language should I give to this object to be able to make it look like an object which belongs to the living room rather than belonging to the kitchen? So first thing I did is like I abandoned the idea of having like a chrome finish on the object, because the chrome finish is very well like connected to the technical faucet that you can find in the bathroom or in the kitchen. So I decided to play with the finishings which are more about the living room. So very dark metals and marble and shapes which are not giving the impression of that you're looking at a tap, at a faucet, but it's more of another object. Some people see a lamp here, but you know, the thing was like to destroy the typical image you have of a typical faucet and to just reimagine a brand new object which could actually belong to another place from now on. So these were some of the projects that I've designed, and that helped me to talk to you about what I think, why I think products are activators of emotions. I'm going to be almost done here. I'm just going to be quick because I'm talking about the design approach, and I think like most of the times is before designing things, you need to understand what you are designing, right? And the typology you are designing and what these objects represent within a space, and especially what it represents for people. And starting from there, I start with the sketches and you know, and then of course nowadays we have all these very powerful tools like 3D modeling tools and that we can use to speed up the process. This is an armchair that I've designed for the Mooi, which by the way, it's a Dutch company which is somehow connected to the Marcel van der Studio, but I'm not gonna explain this now. Again, here, like it's all about like, you know, what kind of shape we want to go to the project in order to make it look like, in a way, valuable within a space and especially recognizable, because the silhouette becomes very crucial. This is also like a metal table. Again, this company is called Mingardo, and they are very much working with, let me see if someone is, oh, thank you. And so this is a metal table, and this company, is just work with just by welding very simple metal profiles together in order to create standing furniture pieces. And then I was involved in this project, and I thought that would be nice to create a little magic here, a little surprise here. So the idea here was I only used like very simple metal pieces, just welding them together with a couple of screws here to make it flat packing and stuff like that. Technical boring stuff. I'm not going to go down to those details. But one of the main idea was like to create a surprise by using this golden blade here, which gives like a sort of like a blade, you can call it a blade of light, and it kind of like, it makes you think that there is something going on because the whole table is black. Then this somehow communicates there is something going on, which you might need to discover. So when you bend, actually you see under the table, then you start to realize that all the technical part, which is supposed to be the technical, the ugly one, the one that is supporting the top, is actually the golden one, and it becomes somehow the hidden decoration of this piece. So again, like here there is like some bathroom project, which is very much about like finding shapes which can relate to the house, and it's also smart in terms of a system because you can have multiple configurations here. And then this is, I think, the last project I will talk to you about, and it's one of my favorite projects so far, and it's about these are two rings for lovers, and the idea is that the project, the process is that I take the measurements of the two fingers of the two lovers, and I create this beautiful one-piece shape that it can be done in gold. Well, most of the times it's done in gold, and then together with the technician, friend of mine, very very talented, a goldsmith, she's like cutting the two parts, and then you get the two different rings. And the cut here, as you can see, is always equal to the same, to both of the pieces, even though the size of the ring is different. And this is based on a physical, is based on a principle of physics, which is called quantum entanglement. And it says that basically if two parts are somehow connected, and if two parts are interacting with each other for a certain amount of times, but then they get separated, they can never be considered as two different things, as two different molecules, particles, but they will always be interacting with each other, even though they are miles and miles and miles away. This is like, of course, you can read a little bit of the quantum entanglement. It's a very simple law of the physics. So basically the idea is that it's not important where you are or where your partner is, but you will be always like somehow interacting with each other. And this is how the final jewelry is looking like for her and for our, I don't have a picture of the guy wearing it, but yeah, this is it. And it looks very simple when you wear it actually. And then, well, these are just few other images of final projects. So where, like in a way, talking about emotions and talking about products being activator of emotions, of course, it becomes crucial to when you talk about shapes and silhouettes. Because if you think about it like an object, you start to interact with an object, not when you touch it, or when you try its ergonomics, when when it functions somehow, but it's when you see it, when you look at it, Of course, I'm talking about the type of design that I do, There are so many millions of different types of design. So regarding for what I actually do every day, the type of object that I design, I think is crucial to think of shapes being one of the most important parts of the project. And so this is why I like to think of to spend a lot of time like designing silhouettes and shapes, because I think it's the most important thing. And it comes, when they say function or shape or function, then I would say that shape is maybe like, not less important than functional tool in a way. And okay, so I'll just like finish here. These were some experience in mosaic. Anyway, I would like to thank you all for listening to me, and sorry for my voice. It's a little, well, it's a little low, and also sorry for the noise here, but I hope you guys understood and you guys enjoyed my bunch of information that I gave you. And now I'm here to reply to the questions if you have any, or I can actually go through the chat here. Arturo, what do you say?
Thank you so much for the presentation. I think it's really interesting because, the crowd was really active in the chat. Everyone was commenting about how cool the designs are, how comfy the chairs look, such a nice glass table. Everyone was commenting about the images you show. I shared your social media and your webpage here in the chat so everyone can check it out too.
Great, thank you.
So maybe let's start, in order with some of the first questions we got.
Yeah.
So for example, Marcela asked, first Sarai Mireles asked, in this world of ephemeral trends, how can we teach the society to value design? How can we communicate people the real value of design?
Okay. How can we communicate the value of design to people? So I guess it's a question made by a teacher or something like that, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, she tries to say, how to give, design, its worth in a world where trends go and come, just
yeah,
like
I understand. Okay, yeah, I understand. Well, I think it's actually a very interesting question because I keep also wondering myself, about this, and and trying to understand how can I be, this is there is this typical word that some designers say, it's like being timeless, so to make sure that the value of whatever you do just stays there and it doesn't go with the first trend, this is one of the things that it's more common to wonder, and I think there is no such a clear recipe to it, because I think trends are important because somehow they shape the, how can I say, they call it zeitgeist, it's like the aesthetic of the times we are living, in a way. So I think it's just like beautiful to analyze and to know trends in a way. It's part of culture. At the same time, you want to be there with your project forever, right? So at this time, if you ask me, I don't have I have to be honest, I don't have a clear recipe for it. But if you ask me what I think about it, is like nowadays, as soon as you really put a piece of your heart in whatever you do and you express yourself in your point of view, from an aesthetic point of view and from a function point of view, then I think it is the best thing you can do. So you don't design to be able to follow a trend or because someone tells you to do this and that's it and full stop, but you also want to somehow, put a slice of your soul in it. And I think this is one of the cool ways that you can, sooner or later manage to create a timeless piece, I think.
Yeah, totally. And by doing so, you give, the object part of your identity. And so even if trends come and go, they're not going to find something similar to you.
And what's more precious than a piece of your identity into an object, I think there is no more precious thing possible. So
great answer. So Marcela asked, I would like to know the difference of design products between the Netherlands and Italy. And where did you develop more your technical and emotional skills? In which country?
It's another very interesting question because there is well, they're both European, so somehow they're both under the what's it called, the European design in a way, but they're also very different from each other, and I will tell you why. Italy has a history in design which is very well connected to the industry. So if you're talking about old art, the old Castiglioni and individuals which used to be architects and then they also became designers eventually, they were all talking and interacting with the industries. So most of the times, whatever they were designing, it was meant to be mass produced with industries and with machines. If you go in the Netherlands, they don't have such a the same amount of industries, you know, and not even nowadays. So the whole approach is completely different. So you see students in the Netherlands or young designers developing their projects just on their own, maybe in the basement. They kind of come up with some, like, you know, homemade machines to do some homemade products, and you know, it's very well like connected to the final output. So you get two different outputs, right? In Italy, you have an industrialized piece, and in the Netherlands, you have, like, most of the times one-off pieces, right? So pieces which are just one single unit. In a way, they're very special because they're handmade. And also, like, the fact that there is not a big industry in the Netherlands makes all these Dutch designers also spread way more with materials, and in a way, it's, you know, well, the difference is huge also because you get to have, like, you know, more innovation in the Netherlands in terms of material, because, like, they're not scared of, like, designing products which need to be somehow connected to the industrial process, you know.
Perfect.
So you get very like, you know, weird solutions and very innovative solutions.
Great. So now we have a question by Ana Consuelo, who asked, you know, in your case, the creative process, in the case of your creative process, what are the steps and in which order, you know, emotions, materials, engineering, and where do you look for inspiration to most of your projects?
Okay, it depends on the projects, of course. You know, I think the beauty of our job is that we have this luxury that we don't need to necessarily always follow the same rules all the time. So we can always adapt to different projects according also to, which I believe being very important, your personal mood at the moment. Because I mean, we, like creative people also, like, they have to deal with their own mood. And so in a way, I think it depends a lot. The hierarchy about what comes first, I think, in a way, before finding shapes, is more about, you know, how this object should look like. In a way, it's more about what this object represents, you know, and where to place it, and how would make people feel by owning this object. And even more important is that how would my guests see me when they actually understand that I own this table, for instance, you know. So what is communicate about me? So it's very important. And the last part of the question was the inspiration. I think the inspiration comes when you actually don't design, right? It can be like, you know, when you have breakfast in the morning, or actually I think it's a little bit like exercising. So I think not being active on projects has the same value as being active on projects, you know, because this is where you start to collect ideas, you start to look things from a different perspective, you start, you know, to go a little bit more crazy with the ideas. So I think inspirations just come from, you know, everyday moments, you know, like of your life. So
yeah, from everyday moments in everyday life, you know, because
yeah,
functional objects. So
yeah, exactly. There is no like a specific way to collect inspirations. If you guys find one, just please tell me, because that would make my job much easier, you know?
So everyone is saying that your designs are amazing. So Carla Núñez says that thank you very much for sharing your knowledge. Emilio Escobedo says he is amazed by your designs. Thank you so much. We have another question from Ania Manso, and she says, are other disciplines involved in your creative process besides that related to design, like psychology, for example, and how do you apply the knowledge from other areas into design?
I'm a designer 100%, so I don't really, I do other things, of course, but then I'm always trying to bring back the inputs to my job, because I think it's important. And so I don't do, I'm not a psychologist or nothing like that, but I like to get, for instance, like to listen to music and to study a little bit also different types of music. And this also, like, in a way, it's a creative thing. It's not a job, but it's more like a hobby, of a passion, right?
Nueva lista de precios de Sears.
Chicos, les puedo pedir que apaguen su micrófono todos los demás porque todavía no terminamos, para que la comunicación sea más efectiva, por favor. Sorry, there was someone with its mic turned on.
Okay.
I guess the last question comes from Marcela, and she asked, how do you keep your focus on what you want to communicate? How do you avoid distractions that take out of the past?
And this is one of the most difficult things, actually, because again, like it's difficult because it's very easy to lose the focus. Being a very, let's say, how can I say, it's not an activity that you can record all the time. So you need to find different tools. Like I write down everything, for instance. I just try to look at things like a little child would look at them, because sometimes like designers are designing very complicated things for other designers to say, oh man, you're great. Such a complicated thing you've been designing. Sometimes it's just nice to step back and to look at things and say, do I like that? Does it communicate good vibes? Is it the right thing I want to buy? And I think like, these are questions sometimes I wonder. And anyway, like it's not always easy to keep focus and to understand where you're going and what you're doing every day. But one of the things that I've learned is that you need to give time to the process. So this is the only thing that, I lose my focus like every 30 seconds. Okay, I can stay focused for like very few seconds, and then I think about something. So the only thing for me is to give time to the process, and with time, the more time I have, the best, because I can make sure that the final output is the right thing. Because I've been asking myself so many questions, and between these so many questions, for sure, there are the right ones. So I think this could be.
Well, thank you so much. Is it Simone or Simone?
Simone.
Okay, Simone. Thank you so much for your presentation. I think it complements perfect with the rest of the webinars we had here at Encuentro Creativo, because you have like a very specific perspective on the process of creating objects, and so it complements perfectly with the rest. And it shows that you did great, because everyone's really active in the chat throughout the conversation, and they have a lot of questions. So thank you so much for joining us. It was amazing.
Thank you, Arturo, and thank you, guys. It was very, very nice.
So now I'm gonna switch to Spanish to end the presentation. Or Claudia, are you gonna do it?
Yes, I'm going to do it. Thank you so much, Simone. It was really interesting, and thank you for showing us your amazing designs. Let me switch to Spanish in order to give the names of our sponsors. Muchas gracias a todos por haber seguido este webinar de Encuentro Creativo. Queremos agradecer a nuestros sponsors, principalmente a la Embajada de Italia en México, que sin ellos no sería posible este evento. Adicionalmente, agradecemos a Fénix, patrocinador de esta primera edición de Encuentro Creativo, Seña, Yamamay, Scavolini, Alfapar, Ferrero, Amoretti Brothers, Vialetti, Campari, Ferrari México, San Pellegrino, Capricho, Secretos del Vino, Riedel y Grupo Berlingo. Les recordamos que este es un evento y una iniciativa de la Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México. A todos los participantes que lleguen a tener problemas con sus conexiones o que se hayan podido conectar unos minutos después, les recordamos que todas las sesiones están siendo grabadas y las subimos a nuestro canal de YouTube. Nos pueden buscar como Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México, y también todas las grabaciones las encuentran en el sitio web de Encuentro Creativo. Si tienen algún problema con el registro o algo por el estilo, les pedimos por favor de enviar un correo a encuentro.creativo@camaraitaliana.com.mx y con mucho gusto les podemos dar las ligas de acceso o cualquier otra duda que requieran. Les recordamos también que IED, el Instituto Europeo de Design, está ofreciendo una beca para todos los estudiantes. Entonces, Como podrán ver los mensajes de Carla en el chat, realmente pues bueno, pueden conocer más también de este descuento y de esta beca a través de nuestro sitio web de Encuentro Creativo. Muchas gracias nuevamente a todos. Thank you, Simone. Y bueno, nos vemos en la siguiente sesión del día. Gracias.
Chao, chao. Thank you.
Antes de terminar, chicos, vamos a transmitir un breve mensaje de Ricardo Ramos, que es un testimonio de un egresado de IED. Solo para que tengan a lo mejor un poquito de idea de cómo está el plan de estudios allá.
Chao, Encuentro Creativo. Es un placer estar aquí y poder compartir mi experiencia en Italia. Mi nombre es Ricardo Ramos, soy de México y realicé mis estudios en la ciudad de Milán. Hoy trabajo en Nueva York como director de estrategia en Made in Itaca, agencia de consultoría con sede en Milán. Obtuve el Master's Degree en Brand Management and Communication, además del título trienal en Comunicación, PR y Eventos del Instituto Europeo de Design en Milán. El haber elegido tener mi experiencia académica en Italia ha brindado grandes oportunidades a mi carrera. Hablar italiano, poder interpretar el Made in Italy a mercados internacionales. De hecho, hoy trabajo en estrategias de branding para marcas italianas, como Ferrari, Barilla, San Pellegrino, Frescobaldi Wines. Mis estudios en IED Milán me han brindado el know-how académico de design storytelling, de descripción de conceptos y ejecución de estrategias creativas. Una mezcla entre la importancia de la estética, el estilo y estructura metodológica del design. Cada clase, proyecto y examen son lo más parecido posible a situaciones de trabajo. Si estás interesado en el mercado del business de la creatividad, es mi gran recomendación que estudies en Italia, el país del design, la moda y las tendencias de comunicación de vanguardia. Así que seguramente nos veremos en Italia. Chao, chao.
Bueno, chicos, pues ya lo saben, sigan pendientes de todos los webinars que vamos a tener aquí en Encuentro Creativo, y justamente hoy a las 5:30 vamos a tener una conversación con Rodrigo Noriega, que es uno de los diseñadores industriales más importantes aquí en México, que nos va a hablar de cómo, digamos, tener o ser un diseñador todoterreno en el siglo XXI. Entonces, estén atentos y nos vemos a las 5:30.